continue to hear from those who were near the area when all of this began this morning.
Yeah, we're on the phone now with Carol Ann Vigil. She had to spend hours today in a shelter-in-place at the TCF Bank, which is near that building where the shooting happened. And Carol, take us back to that moment when you first arrived at the bank and the door was locked when an officer told you to go inside.
You know, you guys, I initially went there to cash my check and had to go back out to my car, and all of a sudden this officer is yelling across the parking lot, telling me to get back in the bank. At that point, the bank had already locked its doors and had already sucked shelter, and so I was told to, like, go against the wall and skim across to the back of the bank and bang on the window, and they eventually let me in, where we spent about 5 to 6 hours before the FBI bomb squad came and swept the building and then took us over to the King Soopers, where there were several hundred people all waiting to be processed. And you know, after hours of listening to gunfire and flashbangs from the SWAT team and just visuals of the snipers on the building, it was heart-wrenching to know that there were people inside there and people that were hurt and fatally wounded. It was a very long day, and I got to say, just being processed by the FBI is nothing compared to what the families are going through tonight with the loss and the injured. It just breaks my heart.
Yeah, Carol Ann, we're approaching 12 hours ago where this started to unfold near the Planned Parenthood clinic, and as the hours have gone on, you've had more time to process yourself mentally about what happened to you today. How are you feeling tonight?
You know, I was okay. I think the adrenaline kind of took in. I work with EMS. I work on an ambulance, with Citywide Ambulance, and you know, it was actually just about 30 minutes ago that somebody said, "How are you doing?" And I just kind of burst out crying. And it's just overwhelming to think that people were hurt, and, you know, I was helpless in this building. And it was kind of like being in a fish tank because the bank had just glass. And I could watch, you know, I could see the snipers, and I could see everything that the SWAT team was trying to do to subdue this event. And it's just heart-wrenching to think that I couldn't help anybody that was injured. And I know that Colorado Springs Police and El Paso County Sheriff and every FBI and every agency that was involved just felt helpless at that point. And I'm just really grateful that it's over. But to think that, you know, like, even I deal with sick people every day, you know, but this was just it really got to me. And it took a little while to kind of hit me, but it did. And I'm thankful, but I'm also hurt that there were people hurt and people fatally hurt, and that their families that are just going through this heart-wrenching time.
Carol Ann, thanks so much for joining us, and we are very grateful that you are okay tonight, and our thoughts and prayers as well go out to the victims and their families. Let's go now to KRDO News Channel 13's Angelica Lombardi, who's been talking with people who also, like Carol Ann, just getting out of those businesses tonight. Yeah,
Angelica, we are told that a lot of those people there were bussed away from the shooting scene, having to leave behind their own cars.
That's right, James and Heather. They all had to leave their cars behind here at the shooting scene. That's why they were all taken out in bus loads over the past hour. Now they're finally getting to be reunited with family and friends who have been waiting to pick them up. We've been talking with several family members and friends down at the location where they're being picked up, and several of those family members said they've been in contact with those witnesses, but it sure has been scary for them. We spoke with one woman who actually works here but was off for the day, and her co-worker was inside and was talking to her about how scary it was. Thankfully, she is okay, and she was there to pick her up. Here's what she had to say.
She's been there all day since 6 o'clock this morning, and she's been on lockdown. And she said there was like all kinds of activity with like SWAT teams and snipers like actually in the building and in patients' rooms. So that was really scary to think that those people were in danger.
Again, that was a co-worker or a witness who was picking up her co-worker who was inside of the building, and People who are inside those buildings are now being reunited with family and friends again. They'll have to leave their cars here overnight, but they were all bussed out, and that's the latest that we know so far regarding that. Live in Colorado Springs, Angelica Lombardi, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, Angelica, thank you. And police say the initial call came to the Planned Parenthood around 11:30 this morning.
Yeah, we have more continuing coverage of the shooting coming up, but first, here's a glimpse at how it all started from the officers first on the scene, calling it in to emergency dispatchers.
I just got shot at. He's behind Planned Parenthood.
A terrifying scene.
23, I'm about 200 meters from him, but he's barricaded behind the Planned Parenthood building.
A gunman shooting at civilians and officers.
41 of a shot.
It started just before noon on the west side of Colorado Springs.
The shooter is constantly shooting, keeping those officers down.
The gunman hiding and shooting at police for several hours.
23, I just got shot at. He's behind Planned Parenthood.
Fillmore and Centennial essentially locked down. The shooter, a white man whose motive is unclear.
Okay, one caller says a white male, 45 to 50, and Bill's salt and pepper hair. He has a dark gray puffy jacket, a hunting hat with flaps over the ears.
Then, roughly 5 hours after it started, the suspected gunman surrendered.
039, we have one suspect detained right now. Okay, good job. Would you post your guys throughout that building in strategic places and maintain it until we get an EOD sweep, and then we're going to have to put a plan together to clear the building.